topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Language of Healing on Talk4 TV and W4CY Radio. Every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we are here live with you, sharing the language of healing together, becoming more fluent in that, and training ourselves how to understand and work with our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. Because some of these messages aren't so clear. And today we're going to talk about the value that acupressure can have in your life in regards to body aches and pains, or stress, tension, poor sleeping. There's a whole variety of things we can touch on with this. And this is also part of the language of healing, is when your body is actually telling you something, how do we listen in? How do we tune in? How do we hear what it has to say? And then what do we do with it? What do we do that can support our bodies in functioning optimally so we can carry on with our daily activities, get to play with the kids, go on that hike, even just sitting comfortably if you want to be, if you're into some arts and crafts and you're sitting a long time, or you want to be sitting and reading, or anything. So we're talking about those uncomfortable moments that pop up when you're in your daily life and how that might show up. So maybe we've all experienced a time or two when we've been out and about, driving, and you shoulder check and, oh my goodness, my neck suddenly can't turn so smoothly. What do? You can't get in to see, your healthcare provider right away. And if it's something that is coming up again and again in a chronic manner, it's great to go see your health professionals, get your acupuncture, get your massage, your chiro, and the support with that. But what can you do in the meantime, in those times in between, that are also supportive and really empowering? Because the more that you can take charge, I don't know if that's the right word, but if you can be there with it, that's very empowering, right? Because you're coming from a space within yourself that you acknowledge and are willing to work with it. And so acupressure is a very simple tool, easy, effective, available anytime, anywhere, because you're using your hands, or if you have a little tool, like even the edge of a pen, or like a little pencil eraser kind of thing, you can use this tool. And very gentle and effective. Like, this is honestly how I work on myself. When I have something showing up in my body, I go through these steps. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that with you today. So just me. Are you just getting me today? So I am a trained acupuncturist and traditional Chinese medicine herbalist. And so a doctor of acupuncture means that I can diagnose and treat based on traditional Chinese medicine theory. And if you're familiar with traditional Chinese medicine or acupuncture, and even if you're not, you might have seen those lines that run on our body and with little dots. And now I'm thinking of Alex Gray. If you're into any of his art, he's worked with the band Tool before, so you might have seen his art work on, Lateralis or those albums. And if you remember, the videos, the music videos back in the day where, we hadn't much music here in Canada, and, you'd tune in and see these like awesome videos, and that was always fun. But these videos with Tool and with Alex Gray just always amazed me, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I really highly recommend going to check it out. Just type in Lateralis Tool on the YouTube and watch the video, and you'll see that this artist represents the body in an energetic, very colorful sense, and you can see the energy lines that are running throughout the body. And this is acupuncture. This is where Chinese medicine has its roots. So firstly, we don't really know what came first, the meridian, the channel, or the points. And so the idea behind it is when you push on a point, like a pressure point, it does run and connect with that line. So you could be working on your head by working on your hand. And the idea is that pressure point follows the channel that connects into your head. So you have like a toothache or an eye ache or a headache, and you can work on yourself. And so this is a way we can work with our bodies more proactively instead of being stuck and reactive, right? So with emotional wisdom training that I talk about often as well, and that I'm trained in, is a principle that more movement comes when we are moving forward or moving towards something versus moving away from something. And a tendency that we have when we are in pain is to pull away or step back, or I don't want that. I don't want to feel that. But, like uncomfortable bodies raise a lot of attention, so what can I do with my body when I'm just focused on how uncomfortable I am? Well, the first thing is awareness, just bringing awareness to it. Okay, I have this pain in my neck, and what now? So acupressure is just a simple tool that we can do in that moment to help hear it or help speak with our bodies. So it's very simple. This is like very intuitive. I think it's built into our bodies that where we have pain or discomfort, naturally our hands like will touch that spot, right? Like I have a tummy ache, you put your hands on there, or my back hurts, so I'm gonna just put my hands there. So this is already very inherent in us that we do these kinds of things. So we'll just go a little bit more into it. And yes, acupuncture points are very precise, but don't worry too much about getting the point exactly. If you are more curious about that, there are resources out there that you can find the actual location. And if you follow any kind of anatomy, like it will be easy to find. So so I've got some questions here. So we'll just go through these. What can I do when my body is in pain? So like I said, the first step is really having the awareness of it and being willing to hear it and participate in that. Instead of pushing it away, you're going to be more curious. You're going to be aware and curious and open to it because it's there. And so why not just address it right then, right? So, and there's lots of different kinds of pain. There's acute pain that comes very rapidly. There's chronic pain that's been with you for a long time. There are illnesses that have pain associated with it. And so there are some layers to pain, but regardless of what's going on, you can still work with it. And disclaimer, I guess, for acupressure. There are, if you never do acupuncture or acupressure over like an injury or a wound. Really cautious if you're have any circulatory, like blood thinners, recent blood clotting. Some of these things are just be careful with, like less pressure. And obviously consult a health professional. You can talk to your Chinese medicine doctor near you and to get like really exact, precise advice on that. And there are some points that are very cautious, use cautiously when pregnant. And so we'll go over all of that. But just so you're aware that this is not a complete replacement for the medical care. If you're in pain and have something that's really bothersome, please go get it checked out. Please have that addressed and bring that to your healthcare professional as soon as that's a concern. And something that I was taught is that if a pain lasts longer than 6 weeks, you should really have that checked out as well. And there's because there's so many things to be curious around when pain shows up in our bodies. But I was inspired to share about acupressure, firstly because it's my go-to, and of course I know the points very well. And so I just wanted to share some things that I go through. And neck and back, I would say I do encounter some of that stuff, right? Like just with sitting, standing, lifting things. There's a lot of time, or just stress. Like honestly, if you have stress or not a good sleep, not enough water, hydration, all of these things. So I can take care of it pretty quickly when I tune in with, okay, what does my body need? But we're just training ourselves in how to hear that. So obviously where the pain is, you can go there. So it doesn't have to be point specific, right? Like you don't have to know the actual acupuncture point. But say, for example, you have like the back pain. So even just right now, wherever you are, just, try this, like just finding a point in the back here and just holding it. You're going to hold it for about 30 seconds and just applying a steady pressure to it and just taking some deep breaths with it. I find that when I push points that are tender or that are trigger points, my body kind of naturally releases and has more air, more breath, and more flow. I do use some products like Tiger Balm, something that will disrupt that pattern. So the pain is just sending a signal. So if we want, by putting this cream on our hand, we're interrupting that signal and telling the body it's okay, we've got this. So it works, a lot of the time. But if it really doesn't and you have more problems, please seek additional help. That is very important. And want you to know that that's all right. And yeah, so the back, that's easy enough, and there's all sorts of tools like tennis balls or those the hooks, if you've seen any of those hooks, you can use stuff like that. But I've also recognized that there's tension when you're caught up in negative emotions or the spin cycles and the body is tense, so how can we address that, create a little bit more space in our body so we feel good and we can move freely? Because that's really, the key to high, like quality living is to be able to move freely, no matter where you are or what position you're in, or what life has in front of you. You can always find space and flow within any situation, even when it's really difficult and challenging. And it's really the last thing that you think you're going to have is like ease and flow. And so, what else can we do? I have a favorite point, and it's on the hand. So this one's very easy to find. So for you, those of you watching, it'll be easy to follow along. But for listening, I want you to find your index finger. Okay, very easy. and where your index finger meets your thumb. So if you follow that point, and if you follow along the bone, so where the thumb and the index finger meet down here, it's the thenar eminence. It's like the meaty part of your hand on the thumb side. So there's lots of little tender points in there. You can just do a simple pinch, like pincer grasp, and pinch and squeeze, and just hold it. And breathing. Yeah, already it feels good. Okay, for this point, this one, be very careful. Please don't use this if you're pregnant, because it does stimulate the uterus and can cause, some extra stimulation there that you might not want. If you are third trimester, ready to deliver, and baby's being a little bit, you want to help instigate that contraction, then please feel free to stimulate this point all day long, right? This one's also very good for the head and face. It controls the neck. So honestly, this one should be your go-to point. So on both sides, you can do that. So on this side here, so following that index finger into the thumb and that meaty part. So this will be on the outside part of your hand, not with the palm. You can work that area as well, but this point specifically is on that outside. So yeah, give that a try and see what it should be. Quite tender. And so the direction you're pushing in is towards the wrist. Okay, good. And this is also very calming for the mind. The wrist has many calming points. Another one we can talk about then on the wrist, and you might be familiar with it because it's the, like those anti-nausea bands that go on the wrist, if you're familiar with any of those. So it's just a little, like if you go from the wrist two thumb widths down, you can find just that area. I would just kind of push on the area. Be careful, there are nerves and blood vessels running through here. So if your hand goes numb, just release it and move on. This can be very calming. So if you have trouble sleeping or feel stress, you can treat yourself, right? And physical touch cues energy. So when you do have a lot of your attention is going to somewhere where that's uncomfortable, you can bring your physical touch there, and that will help shift the energy. So it helps, like I said, interrupt that pattern. So you're actually bringing something there that helps balance it and neutralizes the uncomfort. And repetitive strain. What can I do to help repetitive strain? Lots of tension built in the forearms. So even just working down from the hand here, we have this point in the hand between the thumb and the index finger. We have the point in the wrist that we can use. And then you can work your way up to your elbow, right? And there's all that meaty stuff in there too. And so just really finding where that tender point is and just pushing and holding for 30 seconds and breathing. And so this can be like a little meditation for you as well, where you're just like taking some quiet time with yourself, right? And if say you're driving, you can just like be pushing a point as well, stopped at a light, or when you take a break, just like noticing how that's different, how that helps bring a bit more space and breath into the area. Also, important disclaimer here, the top of the shoulder, there is a specific point here that's right on the top of that muscle, that trapezius muscle, which a lot of people are holding tension. It's a very common space to hold tension, but this is very not to be used with pregnant women, unless of course you want the baby to be coming and you're excited to meet the little one, and you just, okay, I'm ready for you to be here, so let's get you out. So you can put some pressure here. Otherwise, please be careful, and do not use that point if you are pregnant. If you're pregnant and you have tension there are some other points that you can use. So just remembering that the body is not separate. It's not compartmentalized. It's a whole system. It's functioning together. So if you do have pain here, you can have points on the hand or the head. Okay, we had another question pop up. I suffer from carpal tunnel. Do these practices interfere or help with this condition? That's a great question. Especially, so I was talking about that wrist point. If you have carpal tunnel, there could be a lot of inflammation there, right? And in a way, that's an injury. And so I think that the best thing you can, I would be careful and just really tune in with if it causes more numbness or swelling or pain, stay away from there, but work instead on the point on the hand or the point on the elbow, and just trying to get like some movement there, distal and proximal to it, right? Like just wherever it is, go the opposite direction and see if you can address it that way. On that note, wrist and elbow things are commonly coming from the shoulders. So our shoulders are a very mobile joint. It's a vulnerable joint because it can move in all of the directions, and it's not as supported as, say, like our hip. Our hip's kind of like locked in there. It can move, but it has a bit more protection. So the shoulder has a bit more vulnerability. So it's really being having those shoulders in down and back position. If they're too forward, it puts too much pressure on the wrist and the elbow, and so some of these repetitive strain conditions can show up like that. And I know typing, texting, all of these things can really contribute to that as well. So I know that this is that's a challenging one for sure. Oh, and I mean, maybe a little bit off topic, but with carpal tunnel, you can use things like hydrotherapy, so hot and cold alternating, just to help circulation as well. So it doesn't have to be treating it physically there, because it's probably going to be a little sore and inflamed, right? So you can use it with hydrotherapy. So that I recommend getting 2 buckets that you can put your body part in. So if it's your wrist, I would recommend getting something that is big enough to fit your whole forearm. So you can just like dunk your forearms in one bucket that's cold. And then you have another bucket that's hot water, and you're alternating between the two. And the ratio for that, if you want to just jot it down or, re-listen to this, but it should be a 2-to-1 ratio. So, if you have 1 minute of cold water, then you go to the hot water for 30 seconds. And so you're always beginning and ending with cold water. And this is like the vascular flush or vascular shunt. It helps to, I love this, very useful information. Awesome, Rachel. Thank you for your input here. I love it when questions come in. And so using some of that, it's a very simple home remedy. And so just taking, and even with the wrist, say you have like your wrist, even if you just hold it and, like, okay, so I feel this discomfort and this pain, so I'm aware of it, and you can ask, like, in what ways, like, tuning in, then am I in resistance to it, or am I accepting of it? And acceptance can just be like just the simple awareness. Okay, I have this pain. I'm going to just sit with it for 30 seconds. I'm just going to sit with it and feel into that. discomfort. And then noticing then, where are your shoulders? Like, where's your neck? Where's your body in relation to that? What position are you holding? Because when we're in pain, our body picks up these pain patterns. That's not what like a pain posture. Pain posture. I see this very commonly too with the shoulder. If something's a little sore, like we tend to protect it. So that's a very, again, instinctual survival mechanism. We want to protect what's weak, what's not strong, because it's vulnerable. Maybe it's not safe to show that weakness, right? But in most cases, in most of our life situations, we do have a safe space to feel into the things that are vulnerable, or that aren't as strong as we would like. And so the acceptance piece is really just that, is like being able to sit with it instead of pushing it away. Like, I don't want that. So yeah. And it just reminds me of like when I have something come up in my neck, I like really just close my eyes and I like feel into my body, like, okay, where does my body want to be positioned that it feels like there's less pressure there? And so that's also the acceptance piece, is I'm aware of it, and now I'm sitting with it. Now I'm working with it. Where does my body want to be? How can I shift slightly to maybe make it feel better? And through that, you create spaciousness. And then with the spaciousness, you can have more clarity. You can see better. Oh, okay. I notice that I hold my body like this when I'm in pain. And that just creates more pain, as it creates more resistance. And so it just keeps getting more stuck and stuck. And so when we sit in acceptance, or sit in that, or just being willing to explore accepting the uncomfortable, then it gives us more space and possibility for resourceful choices to come in. And, so again, with the wrist, if it's something, if you're, what do I need that would help support my wrist? Like, maybe you do need to just, wrap it up a bit, give it some extra support if you're going to be using it. Maybe it really is, trying to stretch some of those tight muscles in the chest and the arms. And yeah, so okay, hope that helps some people out there, because I know that that's a common one. And so, before really going in for surgery or having that addressed that way, you can explore some other things, right, to see if that helps create that space. Yeah, because even then, when you go into like surgically repair it and create a scar, your body's now going to have to heal that as well, right? So there's still going to be something you have to address there, and helping get that moving properly. So just some food for thought. Next question. Oh, what do I do when my body starts to age? Okay. Yeah. And accepting that aging, creating longevity so I can age gracefully. Really good question. And I think that acupressure can be really useful here, because aging, this is another piece that, just in our society, we really, I think that there's a lot of conversation, a lot of products, a lot of things that are geared to anti-aging. And so what is anti-aging? I'm just thinking of like children, and when I was a kid, and how I just like really wanted to grow up and be an adult, and be able to have like the freedom and the choice that adults had in my mind, right? I just would really look up to adults. I loved the conversations they were having. I love being a kid and just, being free and playful. But I think that so we kind of want to, when we're young, we want to increase aging. Oh, I can't wait to be a teenager. I can't wait to be an adult. I can do what I want when I want. And then when we start aging, and it's like, oh, to have that youthfulness and to be able to play freely without my knees hurting, to be able to have that strength to pick up the grandkids, or the strength to, walk the, sites in Rome, and to feel good on my feet. So I think that aging is relative, definitely. And it can be, and it also is tied into the beliefs that we have. And so from Emotional Wisdom Training Institute, the trainings there teach us that our feelings, thoughts, and beliefs are operating when we encounter life's events, incidences, and accidents. And so there's so much more to explore about that. I think aging could probably be a whole topic on its own. But I think when it relates to acupressure, how can we work with our body then? Because instead of going to the belief of my body's getting old, I hear this a lot. Oh, aging isn't fun. Like my age is catching up with me. It's taking a toll. Like, okay. Sure, you've been around, more days, but it's all very relative too. I know 30-year-olds who feel like they're 80, and 80-year-olds who can run a marathon, and keep up with 40-year-olds. And really, there's, even cross sections or MRIs, we can see the evidence that an 80-year-old that takes care of their body and keeps their muscles healthy and their bones healthy and their structure working, there's very little difference actually to a 40-year-old. So, and we've, maybe, I don't know what cultures or tribes exactly, but there's a book called Born to Run, I believe. And this is the idea that this culture, values the running, but there are some cultures that the elderly are really the front runners, the forerunners. They have longer endurance and stamina. And so what is that? That is a very interesting thing to explore around aging. But okay, aging with acupressure, let's just go into that a little bit. It's going to be hard to show, but there's a lot of points around the knee that are very helpful. So I'm just going to describe this. So follow along. You have your knee, okay, and you can bend the knee, and the knee eyes in the front of the knee. They're two little holes, right? And just below the kneecap, okay. So from these holes, you can go even farther down follow that outside knee eye. So the side that's on your pinky toe, so the outside of your leg, your shin, and just working all of that. So I would recommend just running along that channel. And if you find a point that's a little tender, or a point that you notice that your fingers running along and it kind of dips in, you can find that point and just pressing and holding. And they say for longevity and anti-aging that this point, it's actually the stomach channel. So if you really wanted to get more specific, you could look that up on the stomach channel. And they say anyone over 35 should be stimulating this every day. And, even as I'm doing this now, okay, so I've found that line. So I'm just above, so you have the knee eyes, okay, and then just a hand width below it, you can use that point, right? I know it's hard to hear the description of it, But also, again, just like use your discretion, find where that tender point is, because there's probably going to be so many. And while I'm holding, I'm actually moving my ankle around, just like circles, small circles. And it's stimulating that muscle as well. I can feel it moving under my finger. So this one's very important. And then you can go on the inside of the knee as well. So even if you're sitting comfortably and you just bring your foot up to your knee, if that's comfortable for you, of course. If not, just resting easy, and just kind of pushing along the inside of that bone, right? So you have that big shin bone, so we're just on the inside of it. So the side that's on your big toe side, so from the arch of the foot up to the knee, you can work all of these lines as well. And so of course we recommend it for like people with knee pain or shin splints, or plantar fasciitis. This is a good one, working that calf, those upper calf points as well. And what's that book? I forget. The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, I think. Dan Millman. Or maybe it's the Life of Socrates or something, but there's a character in there anyway. And he talks about bone massage. And so if you don't know where the points are, that's okay. Just follow the bone, find the bone structure and push points that are close to the bone, because it's very sensitive area here and lots of pressure points. So, and just, the body is a map, right? So you can learn to read it. Well, it will take some time. It just takes training. It took me at least 3-4 years to learn all the points, and I really just, there's some that are more utilized than others. And so you just keep, you build on that practice, right? And the experience. But this is more, even the language of healing, our conversations are more around the experience. There's a lot of great theory and a lot of great textbook stuff, but life isn't really textbook. All of our experiences are very different, and it's hard to translate that, and it's hard to maybe even like communicate that, be aware of it and communicate it within ourselves and with others. But the more clear we are with ourselves, we can be more clear with others as well. So it's just supporting healthy communication all around, with our bodies and our relationship with ourselves, but translating that into others, because maybe there's a time where you have like some pain and you need, a little extra hand to help you treat that. And good. Shifting mindset. Shifting mindset towards aging and injury. What are some ways to shift mindset towards aging and injury, or even just like pain and that uncomfortable sensation? That's a good point. It's like I said, it's first being aware of it and having the mindset of being curious and open and willing to learn, grow, and evolve from it, instead of being held back, limited, and stuck from it. There's a difference there, and we're so conditioned to go to our automatic programs or the way we've done things before. I've experienced this before, and this is how it went. So we're just automatically going back to like our old ways. So shifting the mindset, I think, is like first having that awareness, right? Of, okay, I'm not feeling very good about this. I actually feel very uncomfortable and this like pain, and it's getting in the way of my, my house is a mess and I can't clean because my back hurts. And it's like, okay, so shifting the mindset could be, recognizing like the acceptance piece of, okay, I have this pain, so maybe I just need to like rest. Actually, maybe I've been really, really busy and pushing my body, and my body wants to rest. And that low back area, especially, and it relates to aging and longevity. Not to get too much into it, but that is where we have how's the kidney energy, which is associated with as being like the root of life. So, when you see some of those Tai Chi or Qigong practices, those lovely people in the park getting together and doing these exercises, and you can see them like on the back, they're like punching their back, because this low back area is really beneficial in giving us stamina and vitality, and it's like literally our structure. It's the root base of our spine. And so there's lots of ancient cultures that recognize this center as vital. So if your back is a little sore, like, is it from, maybe a lack of movement? There's some stagnation there that wants to move. Is it from doing too much, excessive amounts? And even we know of the idea of adrenal fatigue. And so the kidneys and adrenals are very closely connected. And once you start tapping into those, your resources become less and less abundant, I guess, right? And then it's harder for us to really tap into that restorative, revitalizing nature. So maybe you need to acknowledge and accept that, okay, my body needs the rest. So then with that awareness and that acceptance, then the awakening comes from the clarity and the boundary. Like, okay, now maybe I need to recognize that and set some boundary that, okay, now I just need 30 minutes of quiet downtime after a busy day to give my body to replenish my body. It's like your plants that you water regularly and you give them the sunlight, and if they're indoor plants, you give them a little push and a little breath, to keep the movement going, simulate that outdoor environment. And our bodies are like that too. We need to be watered and rest and tended to. And so maybe that's part of it as well. The pain or that uncomfort is coming up to be like, to let you know that, hey, I'm an organism and I'm a system working really well for you. We've been doing lots of great things. And so the mindset of maybe the overachiever, like, oh, I need to be doing something. I'm not productive when I'm doing nothing. Is that true? Is that true? Yeah, because I don't imagine that the plant, thinks it's doing nothing by just being there. And, you don't see the shift happen immediately. It happens over the days and the weeks, and you see it the way it's sprouting and creating new leaves and blossoming flowers, and it's all just different cycles of it. So that soaking up the sunshine and the water is really has benefits. So doing nothing is not nothing. It's actually very beneficial for growth and evolution. So I think just playing with it, shifting the mindset towards that kind of stuff, is just giving yourself permission and allowing your body to be going through whatever phase it is going through. And I'm thinking about cleaning the house, like shifting the mindset around that, because I like to, when I'm sweeping or vacuuming, like there are times where I'll be so exhausted after cleaning. Like, what's tiresome about that? I mean, it's the posture, the positioning, right? But when I shift my mindset into making it like a dance party, or having fun with it, maybe take that extra lunge, like when you're moving forward with the broom, like take the lunge, like just go a little bit deeper, stretch it out. Notice when you're doing the dishes or you're at the sink chopping preparation for dinner, check your posture. Are you hunched over and doing that really intense into it? Or are you, like just relaxed, being down and back, and, maybe just bending the knees a little bit, increasing that, like bring that movement in somewhere else, to help make it more fun. Obviously, if you can put some music on or something like that is a fun way to get through it. So that's a bit of the shifting the mindset around that. Injuries, injuries are accidents, right? So, okay. Also, if you want more information about emotional wisdom training, I highly recommend, and please do go check out the Emotional Wisdom Training podcast, also on W4CY Radio. And you can tune in there with Kate Michaels. She's amazing. She's a wealth of information and knowledge, and has this gift to deliver information that's uncomfortable, and a new perspective, how to really shift that mindset, right? There's a lot of things that we kind of avoid or don't recognize as being important in our lives, and around the feelings, thoughts, and beliefs, and the reprogramming around the events, incidences, and accidents in our lives, and how we can deal with them. Yes, emotionalwisdomtraininginstitute.com. You can find them out too. I'm also a specialist with this institute, and we have ongoing classes and trainings that you can find as well. Literally, it's life-changing. I would encourage everyone to go check it out. And yeah, classes are ongoing. You can tune into their weekly podcast with Kate Michaels. Check out the Facebook page. There's all sorts of great stuff posted there. And lots of testimonials, lots of, and it's just amazing to see the generations going, like children and parents, and really, really impressive how we can actually train our emotions to be able to respond wisely versus reacting emotionally. And I think that just having that curiosity and that willingness to be able to be trained in responding wisely can help shift that mindset, or the spin cycles, the negative emotions, because our bodies, like, we can talk acupressure points, and of course we are, but it's not separate from, because what's a pressure point? A pressure point could also be an emotional trigger that's got you triggered. It's a pressure that's on there. So how do we relieve the pressure? And that's by really having awareness of it, seeing it, shedding light on it, not running away from it, because there's a lot of things we don't want to feel, right? So our tendency is to just avoid it and sweep it under the rug. And we all know how that goes over time. That stuff builds up and accumulates. And so let's go back to the wrist. What else could be going on there? What channels, even from a meridian standpoint, the channels that run through that part of the wrist are the lung, the pericardium, and the heart. And so the lungs, obviously we know that they're breathing in life. Our ability to breathe easy and freely, and to get the oxygen that then gets pumped into our, circulatory system along with our blood, right? Providing us oxygen, much needed nutrients for all of our cells. The pericardium, which is the surrounding layer of the heart. So from Chinese medicine perspective, we view the heart as the emperor or the empress of the body. And, it's like the heartbeat, it's the drum, right? It's setting the precedence of, like, this is the pace, right? Because when we're stressed, we notice that our heart rate changes, our breathing rate changes. So we have lung, pericardium, and heart. I was saying with Chinese medicine that nothing enters the heart, or nothing gets to the empress before going through the pericardium. The pericardium is the guard of the heart. So, when you think about, so that inside of the hand is a very close to us, right? So it's a very vulnerable space as well. So even just like shifting, thinking about that, like, oh, what ways am I maybe protecting myself, right? Like, so even then the body has to layer inflammation and scar tissue to help protect it even more, because it's getting that signal that I'm in danger or something's not right. So the body's in its infinite wisdom is just looking how to balance and manage that, and often it forms these patterns of compensation and lays down the scar tissue, the inflammation, to create a cushion, right? So then our body knows this is a tender area, like, please don't hurt me more, right? It's like, please be careful. And so how can you then exercise being more open, in the heart and the space? And like I said, physically, anatomically, it's also like the connection of our shoulder alignment that affects our elbows and our wrist. And wow, I believe that our time is running up. That just seemed to go by so quick. Maybe not so many acupressure points, but I hope you took some good information out of there. Just new ways. Just use your intuition, and I don't say that lightly or to pass off any other extra care. Like, please have, there's people out there to support you in some of this stuff and moving through it. But, you are wise, and you are resourceful and creative, whole and perfect, doing the best that you can with what you have. So, how can you use your healing hands to help heal yourself and make yourself more comfortable, and therefore, opening up to other people in the world as well, and being safe and strong within that, even in times when it doesn't feel like that's the case. So have a good weekend, everybody. And what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life?
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. See you next week.